One of my favorite quotes when it comes to planning is that happy people plan actions. They don't plan results. As an aspiring practitioner of Stoicism, I only want to concern myself with what I can influence as opposed to what I cannot. Therefore, when it comes to YouTube, I personally think that planning on your scripts and being prepared with your ideas is more important than the number of views you can get. I've written about 25 scripts on my channel, so I figured I'll show you how I prepare, what's my workflow like, and how I write for my YouTube videos. The first and foremost thing that I do with every piece that I want to publish is that I ask myself the most important question. Why? Why am I making this video? And I always start the why by focusing on 3 basic principles. Is this honest? Is it based on my experience? And am I putting it out there as a perspective and not a fact? If my initial idea satisfies all of the 3, then I go ahead to the next step of the process. Now, I've been using a pen and a book for years. As a kid, I would love to scribble random thoughts onto any surface I could find. Since the past 5 years, I've been sporadically journaling thoughts and ideas, and that habit has made its way onto my YouTube channel as well. But quite recently, I've gotten the iPad Pro 11, and even though I've made sure that my process runs irrespective of technology, I'd be lying if technology hasn't made it easier. I'll talk about the apps I've been using towards the end of this video. Coming back to the next process. A mind map is primarily a diagram used to visually organize information. It's hierarchical and shows relationships amongst pieces of the whole. It is often created around a single concept, to which associated representation of ideas such as images, words, and parts of words are added. Now I usually try to branch out with 3 distinctive ideas from my main topic, but I've realized that I quickly adapt them so that they flow back into one another. More often than not, I do have to alter the flow because that's the thing with ideas, they're quite sporadic in nature. Now mind mapping is actually a lot of fun, and you can use it not just to write a script, but also if you want to craft an email, write your first stand-up gig, or if you just want to break up with someone. I'm kidding, I've never actually used mind mapping to break up with anyone. With mind mapping, I make sure I get every single thought or insight that I have about the topic onto the paper. It's extremely easy to get distracted with other ideas while you're doing this though. You might suddenly start thinking about B-rolls, or your brain might spark some completely different idea altogether. If I really think a great idea has bestowed its presence onto me, I quickly write it down somewhere and come back to my mind map. Once my mind map is complete, I now move on to sketching the main body with 3 things in mind. The intro, the middle, and the end. Now I've tweaked my writing style to the way Sean Tucker does it, and he calls it What, Meat, and Benediction. He's made a great video on how he writes, and I hope you do check it out. I make sure that I encapsulate my what and my benediction in one single sentence before I start working on my main script. And then I also make sure those sentences satisfy my why. Post that, I vomit out every ounce of information I can from each of the pointers from my mind map. However, I avoid editing while I'm writing because I really do believe the quote, write drunk and edit sober. Quite recently, I've started following the Pomodoro technique to help me get things done more efficiently, and I have to say it's been working wonders. For those who aren't aware of this technique, it's a time management system where you work for 25 minutes on the clock and take a break for about 3 to 5 minutes, and that becomes 1 Pomodoro. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a 30-minute break, keeping in mind that you don't do anything related to your previous work during those breaks. It's a great technique, and I would urge each and every one of you to give it a shot. I consider reaching my first draft once I've covered everything from start to finish, with every pointer I can fathom and with as many elaborative details as I can muster. Then I'll legit sleep over the script for a couple of days and get back to it with fresh eyes and fresh perspective, and Pomodoro my way through each para and idea, always making sure that it's satisfying my why. Once I've run through it for a bit, I sleep on it again and I repeat this entire process till my gut says so. On an average, for whatever videos you've seen, it takes about 3 weeks to 3 months and about 4 to 5 revisions and sometimes complete overhaul as well. To give you a more accurate understanding, Embrace Your Failure took 2 overhauls and 4 weeks because my why wasn't clear in the first attempt. Why I wear the same clothes took 3 revisions and 5 months. Again, finding a strong why took time. The recommendation on why leaders eat last took 2 revisions and 9 days because it was that simple of an idea. Do more with less took 3 overhauls and 3 months. Initially it was supposed to be just gear doesn't matter, but then it felt quite incomplete till I didn't work the done is better than perfect angle. The apps I use. I've been using GoodNotes for making rough notes, scribbling thoughts, and making my mind map. It's essentially my digital rough book. And for typing and organizing, I've switched from using Apple Notes to Bear, and it's a wonderfully beautiful app with essential features which help organize scripts well. That's it, that's how I write my scripts. This process can seem long and tedious to some, but I've quite organically made this into a habit of mine. And trust me when I say that I thoroughly enjoy this process a lot more than I enjoy making coffee. I hope this helps you get an idea on how my workflow works, and I do hope you got something to take away from this as well. Like, share and subscribe, and as always,